This is our Meals and Moments series that I show you what meals I'm making over a 2 week period of our lives, but also showing you some of the behind the scenes things that are happening here at our house. This is the third video in the 2026 series, which starts February 1st and goes through Valentine's Day. We did this series every 2 weeks for the entire year of 2025, so you can see all the meals that I made over the entire course of a year. If you want to check those out, they're in their own playlist. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross, and this is the Cross Legacy, where I teach you how to save money on groceries. Our grocery budget is $135 per person, and there are two people here officially living, my husband and I, so our grocery budget is $270 per month. But there are many times throughout the month that we are feeding extra people because now we live closer to our family. As we start out this video, we are using groceries that are 3 weeks old. I haven't went grocery shopping since my January grocery shopping trip, and I love being able to show you how I'm still utilizing those produce items into my meals to make sure that we are getting all of our veggies in. We're going to start this video out with a lemon creamy bean dish that I made all in one pot. It was a complete meal with all the nutrients that you needed, and it was super easy to make. Since bean dishes are so popular right now and they're trending on TikTok, I think I'm going to end up making this into its own video and putting the recipe on the blog. So that will be coming up soon. We have one vegetarian in our family, and now they live closer to us again. So I will be adding more bean dishes into our rotation just to make sure that I'm hitting all of our family goals. The next night I had pulled out some meatloaf and mashed potatoes that I had already prepared and were in the freezer. I'm trying to use up some of those warm and cozy freezer meals before we get into spring and the nicer weather. So I made this for dinner, and I did mix up a little bit more of the meatloaf sauce and added onto the meatloaf, and then that way it just warmed up all together in the oven. When we moved into this house in September, it's a 1940s house and it had an unfinished basement, and there was 80 years worth of problems that we've been dealing with down there, like duct tape over some drains to cover some holes that we didn't know until we went to fix electrical and we got the lights working down there, and then we saw what was going on with the plumbing, stuff like that. And then we did end up epoxying the floor and painting some walls, so we're getting a clean slate in the basement area, which is also my laundry room and my pantry. So now, even though we've been here for 5 months, this is the first time that I've been able to open up those pantry boxes that I had put away almost a year ago now, when we were getting ready to finish remodeling the last rooms in our old house before we listed. Around January last year is when I was starting to downsize the pantry in our old house and then put away things that I could put in glass jars and we wouldn't need for a long time. So all of those things have been safely stored, and I'm finally getting them up on the shelves, which that video is going to be coming up really soon, that you can see some of the things that I had in my long-term storage. But I have been using the things in my kitchen that I had set aside just as a starter kitchen items. I think it was around June, right as we were listing the house. I had packed up all the extra things that I needed in the kitchen, and we did a video for that. So it's a really great video to know what my basic items are that I always need in my kitchen, and we have truly been living with just those few items all of these months. But one thing that we haven't unpacked yet has been all of my canning supplies. So I can't wait that we're getting the shelves now set up in the basement, and I can start pulling out my pressure canner and my water bath canner and all of those supplies, so this spring I can start canning again. I do love, honestly, that I haven't been canning, and it really shows that anybody can be sticking to this grocery budget that we talk about, because you don't have to can to be able to have things available for your family. So it has really been a good experience this last year as we are downsizing things and we moved, and then only dealing with the limited items in our kitchen and still sticking to that grocery budget. This week for breakfasts, we have been having still cut oats. most often. So normally when I make it, it ends up being enough for 2 or 3 days. So we just have that for breakfast. And I love being able to add whatever fruit we have on hand or getting warmed raisins in my still cut oats is one of my favorite things. So as I'm cooking the still cut oats, I will add the raisins in there. And this is a great breakfast that you can use up anything that you have. The actual still cut oats only cost about 5 cents per serving, and I buy them once a year, so we always have them on hand, and it is just such a great hearty breakfast to start the day. If you've been following me for a while, you notice that I try to be very careful when I'm talking about my family, and I use terms very loosely about my kiddo or kiddos or littles, or I talk in very generic terms. But there is a very special reason why we moved. And that very special reason, it needed lots and lots of snuggles because they were very sick. And so, luckily, Mike and I did not get sick, but we spent a couple full days just full on snuggling and giving our kiddo a break. We had some extra beef stew in the freezer that we ended up warming up for a meal. Again, I'm trying to look at those things that I had put away earlier in the fall and want to get used up before the weather turns. It's still rainy and kind of cold here, so we have a few more weeks, but pretty soon it's going to turn into really warm weather. So I'm really trying to use up anything in the freezer that we would only want during the winter time. This is when we finally went grocery shopping for February. It was on February 7th, which was a Saturday, and the next day was the Super Bowl, which we live in Washington and the Seahawks were playing. So that was really exciting to see the Seahawks not only play, but win the Super Bowl. And I got some heart-shaped pasta, which I just thought was so fun. It was just over $1, not a big deal, but kind of a fun thing to have right before Valentine's Day. Our kiddo, who's a vegetarian, was over. So I ended up making 2 different sauces. I had marinara sauce in the freezer that I had pulled out that I made earlier this fall, and it had tons of veggies in it. And then I added some Italian sausage into the pan that Mike and I was going to eat from. And then in the other pan, I added some beans. So also getting some more protein into this meal. So we had heart-shaped pasta just a few days before Valentine's Day, and it was just kind of fun. And to show you what my latest project is away from the kitchen, I have been doing embroidery since Christmas. And this is my latest project that I've been working on. It was actually a super easy one. And with it being plants, and I have so many plants in my house, it was kind of fun. I'm really trying to make sure that my unwinding time is away from my phone. I love answering everybody's questions, and I do it a couple times a day, but I don't also want to be doom scrolling on social media. So I am really happy to listen to other YouTube videos when I'm cooking dinner and doing things, but when I'm trying to unwind, I'm trying to get it to be screen free. When I was unpacking the pantry, I found some of our mango salsa. I thought we were all out of this because I didn't make it last spring. So this was actually from a couple years ago, and it is Mike's favorite. So we found a couple jars of that when we were unpacking the pantry. Those will stay fresh for about 5 years. So I have plenty of time to use them up, but it is his favorite. And then I decided to make some taco meat to go with that because we were almost out of taco meat in the freezer. So that was a great thing that I made for a video, also to show you how I not only make it for one night, but I make about 5 different dinners at one time and sneak in veggies and extra protein into the meal just so I don't have to care about what's actually on that taco shell. I know that everything that I put into the meat mixture will make a complete meal. We also had this with the black beans on the side, so it was a really delicious, and we got more portions of it put away in the freezer for other nights, and I only had a dirty 1 pan. Now normally I wouldn't start doing this one so early, but I actually did this early because we filmed a video for it so we can share it probably the day after this video goes out. It's just the way the editing happens and stuff. But I had made a corned beef brisket for St. Patrick's Day, but I made it in February before Valentine's Day so we could film it and you can learn how to make this if you're trying to avoid all the additives and preservatives that are in commercially corned beef. You can make this really easy at home with just ingredients you already have in your pantry, and it's just a beef brisket. So on my days that I'm snuggling a lot, I get really tired, especially with it being at winter time and somebody is very sick. So luckily we still haven't caught anything, but we've been spending a lot of time just snuggling. And when I was unpacking the pantry, I also found a jar of teriyaki sauce. Normally I make this for scratch, but I think I bought it like over a year ago. It's unopened and I got it on sale, so it was great to have on hand. And this was great for this meal. So I just pulled out some cooked chicken I already had. We had frozen peppers. I think I added pineapple to it, made some rice, and we had teriyaki chicken. Super easy. When we knew that we were moving, we also knew that when I was packing up things, I didn't want to unpack the house right at once. There are so many rooms here that we want to paint or add different storage to. And one of those things that I had packed up to put away, not to open right away, was our china in our china cabinet. This is something that we actually have put away a few years ago during our kitchen remodel. And so we got to reopen those china packages and put them out on display again. I love this china because it was my grandmother's and she got married in 1944. And I just love that we are living in a house in that era. And I treasure these things that I got from my grandparents that just make this house feel like home to us. I made this high protein spinach dip. This is a great one, especially when you're trying to use up things from your last grocery shopping cycle. We normally have cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, cream cheese, one of them still left over from the time before, and you can mix and match in this recipe. So I think I'm going to end up making this recipe for a video because it's so versatile and easy to make. You can just make it in a pan on the stove in a few minutes, and it's a great way to use up leftover spinach and dipping vegetables. Now, I did serve this in smaller bowls and gave everybody their own serving of it because we wanted to make sure nobody was sharing their germs. On this night, I forgot to pull something out of the freezer, honestly, and we ended up having tuna casserole, which was super easy to throw together and have dinner within 30 minutes. That tuna casserole recipe, we just made a video of that and it's already up on the channel, and the recipe's on the blog if you want a healthier version of a tuna casserole. And for Valentine's Day, we do fondue every single year. This year, we just used our Kerrygold cheese that I've been buying and used that for the cheese dip. And then I had made some homemade pretzels to have with the cheese dip. And we love having that with carrots and sourdough bread and green apples. So that was a special treat that we had for Valentine's Day. And I love that it's our special family tradition, but it doesn't have to cost very much. And we don't have to go out to a restaurant where it's so busy and so crowded. So that wraps up 2 weeks of my life. If you listened, you might have heard some hidden clues there, but we're trying not to say out loud all of those kind of things. But I hope that you enjoy following our family and the adventures that we are going to get into. I'm going to try to move around the house a little bit more so you can see more of our house and not just always the kitchen. If you're wondering how I keep track of all of these things, this is my grocery and meal planner where I keep track of the meals as I make them. I'm not somebody that actually likes to meal plan ahead of time. I like to make sure that I have the ingredients in my house to make a variety of different meals. So I keep track of everything in my meal and grocery planner. This has 5 different covers, so you can pick the one that you like the best. And don't forget about our zero waste produce guide. This goes through 75 produce items, A to Z, teaching you how to keep your produce fresh for weeks. These are both listed in the description and there is a discount code. If you're looking for a recipe that I mentioned, I probably have the recipe on the blog and I'm happy to send you a link, or it's going to be an upcoming video. But know that I love answering your questions and I sit down at least twice a day and try to make sure that I have them all answered here on YouTube. That is the biggest calling on my heart, to actually be connecting with you guys and helping you save money on groceries. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe. We put out 3 videos every single week to help you save money on groceries.